Our top story today, the Gateway Pundit reports it was a setup. Senator Hawley and whistleblowers say most of Trump's security working the rally were not even Secret Service. What does this mean? We have so much to uncover here on the Gateway Pundit's Week in Review. My name is Elijah Schaffer, and this is the Week in Review, where we cover the top 5 stories of the last 24 hours in around 10 minutes. I just got back from the RNC. Let's get into our top story today. Jim Hoff reports that it looks like it was a setup, what we've all been thinking, but now we have the whistleblowers. And it keeps coming. Senator Josh Hawley sent a letter to DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas on Friday, demanding answers on the attempted assassination attack on President Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania last weekend. Senator Hawley wrote the whistleblowers have notified him that a majority of the Secret Service officials or security officials working the rally last weekend were not actually real Secret Service, but were with Homeland Security investigation team. Were not even trained Secret Service personnel. Government officials also treated the attempted assassination as a loose security event and that canines were not used at entry points to detect threats. It was a setup. Whistleblowers tell me the most of Trump's security team detail working the event last Saturday were not even Secret Service, according to Josh Hawley. You can read the full letter below. I write to raise concerns brought to me by whistleblowers about your department's stunning failure to protect former President Trump on July 13th. As Secretary of Homeland Security, you are ultimately responsible for your agency and its components, including the USSS. Whistleblowers who have direct knowledge of the event have approached my office, and according to allegations, the July 13th was considered to be a loose security event. For example, detection canines were not used to monitor entry and detect threats in the usual manner. Individuals without proper designations were able to gain access to backstage areas. Department personnel did not appropriately police the security buffer around the podium and were also not stationed at regular intervals around the event's security perimeter. In addition, whistleblower allegations suggest the majority of DHS officials were not in fact USSS agents, but instead drawn from the department's Homeland Security Investigations, HSI. This is especially concerning given the HSI agents were unfamiliar with standard protocols typically used at these types of events. And again, that's according to the allegations. You can read the rest of the story there on our website. But now we have a sitting senator saying, okay, is this really incompetence or was this direct negligence? Because there is a difference. Now, we live in the world of DEI, and we've already watched, as we'll see later in the stories, DEI has massively failed. You're putting women in positions they shouldn't be in. You're electing minorities to leadership positions because of the color of their skin. And then you end up without a meritocracy, and you end up with this weird equity society. And all of a sudden, well, things like this seem to be more common than not. Look at the recent security cyber failure with CrowdStrike. Well, I happen to think there's something much more nefarious here. I don't think this happens by accident. Whether it was an opportunity of a would-be assassin because he saw the opening, or they just knew if we eventually keep security lax enough, eventually we're going to ignore a threat and somebody will take him out. That's where I'm falling to. I'd love to know your thoughts below in the comment section. In other news, the Gateway Pundit reports that a massive fire engulfs a Dallas area church led by Trump supporter Robert Jeffress. A massive fire has broken out at the First Baptist Church of Dallas, which is led by Pastor Robert Jeffress, a Trump supporter. You know, he's one of the most vocal pastors of Trump. So it's kind of interesting that, Trump gives his RNC speech. The next day, there's a cyber failure that literally destroys the economy and cripples our infrastructure. And then Trump's top religious pastor that supports him, his church burns down. This is a church probably from the 1800s, from 1868, magically burning down. But don't believe me. Go ahead and take a look at the clip for yourself. Here is the fire that engulfed the building. Now, this stuff doesn't just happen. And I refuse to believe that there's always this coincidence that pro-Trump people, Trump gets almost killed. Then around that time, there's a cyber failure the next day or that night after his speech. And then his main supportive pastor's church burns down that was built in the 1800s in the middle of Dallas after they hear an explosion. Do you really buy the coincidence factor, or is this coincidentally all too suspicious? Let me know your thoughts. Our next story is about Microsoft. They reportedly laid off their DEI team with a brutal message. Samuel Short of the Western Journal reports, DEI is falling out of style, and in the aftermath of George Floyd's death in police custody, many companies made highly publicized vows about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Initiatives filled with all the typical left-wing rhetoric about race, having conversations, and doing better. We need to do better, guys. Apparently, Microsoft didn't learn how to do better with CrowdStrike, but well, how are they going to do better? Focusing on your customer base and delivering quality service, maybe helping the economy, making the world a better place? Of course not. In 2020, doing better meant emphasizing identity politics in the worst workplace, particularly those that have black people, while demonizing white people. And I'm tired of that as a white man. I know it's hard to believe I'm white. I could be black. Who knows? DI is just a long-winded way of promoting discrimination through hiring initiatives and creating a toxic work culture where employees view each other by their race, ethnicity, gender, and national origin. 4 years later, many businesses have realized that focusing on skin color or sex is not that great of an idea. Shocker. For example, Microsoft just laid off its entire internal DEI team. True systems change work associated with DEI programs everywhere are no longer business critical or smart as they were in 2020, a leader of the team wrote. The email said the DEI team was eliminated because of changing business needs. It was unknown how many people had lost their job. I mean, the only white people probably working in DEI were non-binary they, thems. And so forgive me as I do not lament this tragedy. Interesting controversy. Speaking of death in Congress, Democrat Representative Sheila Jackson Lee has died at the age of 74. U.S. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, a long-serving Democrat from Texas, has passed away at the age of 74. Her family released the following statement. Today, with the incredible grief for our loss, yet deep gratitude for the life she shared with us, we announce the passing of United States Representative Sheila Jackson Lee of the 18th Congressional District of Texas. A fierce champion of the people, she was affectionately and simply known as Congresswoman by her constituents in recognition of her near ubiquitous presence and service to their daily lives for more than 30 years. A local, national, and international humanitarian, she was acknowledged worldwide for her courageous fights for racial justice, criminal justice, and human rights with a special emphasis on women and children. Her legislative victories impacted millions, from establishing the Juneteenth federal holiday. Wow. Oh, what a legend, right? To reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act. However, she impacted us most as our beloved wife, sister, mother, and babe grandmother, or Bibi. She will be dearly missed, but her legacy will continue to inspire all who believe in freedom, justice, and democracy. God bless you, Congresswoman, and God bless the United States of America. Funeral arrangements are pending. Jackson Lee had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, as we had reported earlier, and we don't need to explain that whole thing to you. This is a developing story. Okay, well, I'm not going to rip into anyone who's dead, and I would say my heart goes out to her family, because whether they agreed with her or not, it's a tragedy. But remember, she was the one pushing the masks and the vaccines, and she doesn't have a track record of loving all Americans. And so, her legacy to me is null and void, but we do pray for her family, as we should pray for those who persecute us. And so I will take the high road here for a moment and just say to her family and to her loved ones who just lost someone dear to them, we feel very sorry for you, and we hope God comforts you. Hopefully she was a believer, although her policies make me think that she was somewhat of a communist psychopath. Anyway, moving on. Our last story is an update on crime. An evil gunwoman shoots a helpless baby in front of his parents in Philadelphia. We have the video, though it is censored. It is graphic and disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. A demented gunwoman shot a helpless 7-month-old baby in broad daylight this week in a crime-ridden Philadelphia. Philadelphia Police Department today released a video of the shocking incident, which occurred just before 6 p.m. Thursday, asking for the public's help in helping identify the perp. Footage opens by showing a baby boy being pushed in a carriage by his parents on Meridian Street in Holmesburg, Philadelphia, when an unidentified black woman suddenly approaches them and fires at the couple. One of the bullets hits the baby's leg. The father immediately fled the scene while the mother stayed behind. The perp then stomps past the mother and child before turning around and firing at the mother, missing from point-blank range. The mom starts screaming, "My baby," to which the suspect reports, "F your baby, bitch." We have the footage for you from a National Conservative. Viewer discretion is advised. So we have no idea what the motivation was. Look, I'm not going to get into whether the man should have run or not, because I don't know. Someone's shooting you from behind. There's nothing you can really do, right? I mean, you have to avoid the bullets, because then you're just going to die. But this whole situation is not good. Stay out of cities, and we pray for the recovery of this young kid. Stories like this make my wife sick. And, if you're a mother out there, the fact of someone walking up and shooting your baby in the leg while you're just pushing him in a stroller, I don't know if there's any fixing this culture, but, I'll digress for the sake as I'm sure the Gateway Pundit and I share some different views on this topic. And so I'll concede to the network on that one. Thank you so much again for watching the Gateway Pundit's Week in Review. My name is Elijah Schaffer. Have a great rest of the week, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm signing out.